Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Copy Chat Show. My name is Todd Jones. I am the host. And here at the Copy Chat Show, we hang out at the intersection of copywriting, content marketing, and digital marketing. And the really cool thing about this show, this is that I get to talk about what I want to talk about. So if I want to talk to somebody about long blog posts, I can get them on there or talk about it myself. If I want to talk about value props or likability, I can grab a guest who can do that. And today I get to talk about copy editing, which is not my strong suit. And I imagine for most of us, it's not our strong suit, which is why I'm happy to have the not so grumpy grammarian, Autumn Tompkins. Autumn, feel free to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Todd. I am the grumpy grammarian, copy editor extraordinaire. But like you said, I'm not so much grumpy about grammar and errors as I am more with like awkward social situations.
Yeah, so Autumn has a fun way of talking about copy editing. I signed up for her email list a couple years ago, and I would every time it came out, it took like 5 minutes to read because she didn't really make long emails, or she didn't then. And so they were really funny, and they got the point across real well, and I really enjoyed it. And then she came out with a book, and you want to tell us about your book?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My book is called The Grumpy Grammarian's Guide to Copy Editing, and it's specifically for copywriters and small business owners who really want to take their copy and improve it so they connect more with their audience. And really, at the heart of the book, what it is highly implementable tips and tricks and little tweaks to language that can make you go from like ho hum to oh yum. The readers will devour it.
Yeah, and so she does that, and her chapters are very short, so it's not like I think I was reading a review on your page, and a girl that we both know, Tiffany, was saying, "Hey, I was waiting for my computer to start up, and I just started flipping through it, and I really enjoyed it." So, if copy editing is something you struggle with, and I'll have it in the show notes, by the way, a link to her Amazon page. But I would highly recommend you can get an Amazon Kindle version, which is what I have, or one of the paperbacks, and I probably need a paperback as well. So anyway, so what I'm going to do, this is something I started with Sophie. So, and you get to be the second person to answer these little quirky questions, getting to know you, lightning round. And maybe it'll be sponsored one day, maybe by the Copywriter Club or something. So,
awesome.
You ready?
Yes, I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. Cake, pie, or cookies?
Oh, pie. Apple pie.
Apple pie. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite TV show ever?
Lost.
Lost?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd watched a little bit here and there. It was a J.J. Abrams show. I was a big Alias fan, so I remember when Lost was on. So many good actors and actresses came out of that show and have appeared in other things.
I was just a little side note. The first episode I watched, I said they're all dead. They're stuck in limbo. And then at the end, when they got to it, I was like, oh, I hate being right. It was still worth it. It's still my favorite show.
Okay, a little spoiler alert there. If you haven't seen the Lost series.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving, because of the apple pie.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, my mom has gotten to where she's made this skillet apple pie the last few years. Oh my gosh. I'm not really normally a huge apple pie fan, but that skillet apple pie is the bomb. So
I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite author?
Stephen King.
Stephen King. Okay.
Because most of his stuff is made into TV shows, and I'm a TV addict, so.
Yes, a lot of his stuff has been made into shows or movies for sure. And I haven't really read anything by him, but obviously a lot of us have seen a Stephen King production of some kind. So, okay, go-to karaoke song.
Oh. It's by Blue October, and I can't even remember the name of it. Or I can't even think of the song of it. I'm just a teenage dirtbag baby.
Okay, don't know that one.
It's from high school. I'm like,
Okay.
it's my favorite. But yeah, go to karaoke because you don't need big vocals to sing it. So I can do it when I'm half drunk, and it's okay.
I'm always thinking about the words from heart. Kind of like what's the Journey song? Just a Small Town Boy. That song. Yeah. So that would be probably a go-to for me. Okay, if you had a warning label, what would yours say?
Warning. Probably approach with caution because you never know if I'm going to be like a happy grumpy or a bitchy grumpy. Like there's just you never know until you talk to me.
I think there's probably a little bit of a lot of us have that as well. But yeah, approach with caution. Okay. Aside from the necessities of life, what is the one thing you can't go a day without?
So I have to have TV.
Okay.
That is the thing. Like if the apocalypse ever came, I would be so done because it gets my storytelling juices going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what every time I watch a show, I have a notebook because I like to take notes about plot twists and little things that they say, the dialogue. So I wouldn't have any creative juices or minimal ones if I didn't have TV.
That's a great idea, having a notebook. I mean, when I watch a movie, when I watch a movie or a TV show, I'm just thinking I want to be entertained. I want to fall into the story. I don't go to movies to be a critic. Some people will go and they just love, this movie is great or not great because of this or that. I went to see the Harley Quinn movie Friday night. Just fell into the story. Love Margot Robbie. Yeah. So that's what I like to do. I don't want to go to, but that's how I. So I'm with you on that. I gotta have some form of storytelling like that. So
let me tell you how to make it really productive. When I take my notebook and I'm watching TV, I call it research.
yeah,
So I'm never wasting time. I'm researching.
there you go. Somebody asked, what's the difference between research and I forget what they call it, what they said, because we can, wasting the day, as a copywriter, we do a lot of research, right? So I said the difference is documentation.
There you go. That's exactly it.
If you're documenting, then you're researching. If you're not documenting, well, you're wasting time. So, okay.
I like that.
Next question. Would you rather ride a bike, a horse, or a car?
Oh, a horse for sure. I grew up around horses, and that's so fun.
They are marvelous animals, and I've ridden horses a few times as well. That's actually the same answer that Sophie gave, so I'm not really surprised to hear that.
Just such, I mean, like that connection that you can have with them, because they could just, be done with you, or they outweigh you a trillion times, and then, but they just kind of like us. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true. I've ridden horse a few times, and fortunately, I've had good horses that didn't want to butt me off. So I'm pleased with that. If you could live anywhere, where would it be?
Somewhere warm, but not necessarily tropical. Just somewhere with a steady 70 degrees and sunny.
All year long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we seem to get extremes here. It's either really cold or really, really warm. So, in Arkansas, so I would like to have more than my share of 70-degree days as well.
That's exactly on last Friday. We got 6 inches of snow, and 2 days later, it was 45 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in New York, and it was like, I do not know what is going on. but I'm over this.
Yeah. We've had a lot of swings in weather here as well. So, okay, last question. What celebrity would you like to meet for a cup of coffee?
Oh, well, that kind of puts me on the spot. I would like to meet Denzel Washington. We have the same birthday.
You know, I'm with you on that. I like Denzel. He's one of my favorite actors. In fact, one of my go-to gifs is him going, "My man." That from I'm not sure what movie that's from, but that's one of my favorite go-to gifs. So, and that should be one of my questions. What's your go-to gif? It's a different world now, so I may
Yeah.
add that for the next time. What's your go-to gif?
Just be careful because some people say GIF, so you might start a
Yeah,
whole controversy.
there's a debate, but I think the guy who created them calls them GIF, so that's
Yeah.
typically what I go with. So, um, you know, you can debate if you would like, but I'm going to I'm going to go with. Okay, so let's talk about copy editing tips for the average business owner, and you have 3 for us today. And we're so she's actually Autumn has provided the information for us that she's going over. So there will be a downloadable Google document, and I'll get that in the show notes here in the next few days. But if you want to go over those 3 copy editing tips with us, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I mean, stop me anytime because otherwise I can just ramble. But there's really 3 C's to copy editing, and in particular, my process. So it's making sure that your copy is clear, making sure it's concise, and then making sure it's compelling. So you should think about it like you just got done trick-or-treating on Halloween, right? You go home, you dump your candy out on the table, you sort through it, take out the pieces you don't like, and then go and trade them with your siblings or your friends to get the pieces you do like. So again, that's kind of how copy editing works. To make it clear is where you would dump your candy out on the table and sort through it for any pieces that look damaged or broken or, you know, they don't have wrappers when they should, anything like that. Then being concise is taking out the pieces you don't want. And then being compelling is going and trading those pieces to the pieces you do want and adding them back into your candy stash.
That's a pretty interesting analogy. I never thought of it like that, for sure. So talk about clear. How would that work for an average business owner who's maybe writing an email for their email list?
Sure, absolutely. So basically making sure that your copy is clear is making sure that it's organized in a way that helps you stick to the point of your, let's say, email. Your email should only have one message, and that message should be easily understood. Because when it's understood in a precise way and remembered, then people are going to engage with you more. So how would you go about doing that? Would be getting rid of cliches. So they're regional. Not everyone's going to understand them. And they're also such overused expressions that they lack originality. And they fail to, like excite and motivate your reader. So they're kind of going to make your reader go, well, this isn't very clear and I'm not really engaged, so I'm not going to finish reading your email. So, for example, you could say, avoid cliches like the plague. Okay, so a better way to say that, because like the plague is a cliche, you would just say, cut cliches to add excitement to your copy. Another way to make sure your copy is clear is to use simple words. Clear copy, clear emails, whatever you're writing, they aren't flowery or complex. We're not Shakespeare, right? We're not trying to write plays. So simple words, they just make it easy for your readers to read your copy and to understand it. So, like instead of saying proficiencies, say skills. It's just kind of making it so that everyone could understand that word.
Simplify the words and simplify the message.
Absolutely. And then another point is when you use sentences that are really long. You've got to break it up because people don't want to feel like they're reading a novel or a college essay. They want to get right to the point. So the shorter the sentences, the better. Any sentence more than 9 to 11 words is really too much. And you got to break it up with some sort of punctuation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people make the mistake, and I kind of understand this, but our friend Joanne Weeb likes to say, be clear, not clever. I think some people try to be clever with what they're writing, and so it's a very important distinction that we're not trying to write Shakespeare, that we're trying to write something that gets to the point. We are not trying to write either journal, academic journal, or some kind of like prose that's going to be in a book that people are going to buy. I think that's important to differentiate.
Absolutely. And again, clear copy goes back to the copywriting principle that your copy should be easily understood by anyone, from like 5 to 105. Right. So the clearer it is, the easier it is to understand.
And you said you can do that by eliminating cliches and using simple words.
And short sentences.
Short sentences, okay. Mm-hmm. All right, can you talk about being...
I should say,
go ahead.
A note on cliches. When you use a cliche the right way, you make it your own. So, an example is like flying by the seat of your pants. Mm-hmm. Well, you could do is make that cliche your own and write flying by the seat of my press pants, because it breaks up. It doesn't feel like a cliche anymore. So if you want to still use a cliche, find out how to make it your own.
Okay. I'll have to ponder that one. I have seen some people use cliche-like lines, but it wasn't a normal cliche. It was like they made their own cliche up. Mm-hmm. I've seen people like Joel Klecke do that before in different instances. So I think that maybe that would be a similar thing. You're basically making up your own cliche, but it fits what you're doing. So
absolutely, okay. And that kind of goes into one of my other C's, the last one, being compelling. Mm-hmm. So we can really talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Because that's my favorite one.
The compelling. Well, let's save that to the very end then. Let's talk about concise. What does it mean to be concise with a business owner's copy?
So being concise, it means that your copy is short, right? You're keeping everything short. Mm-hmm. But just because it's short and concise doesn't mean that it lacks information. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely not lacking information. It's just that information is packed into bite-sized words, and it means that every word you choose has a job to do. So you eliminate all the freeloader words. Because, again, when your copy is concise, It's easy to read. And readers want concise copy because when you write concisely, it's better thought out and better organized. It really makes you think, how can I say this without being flowery or adding too many words or words that don't have any meaning? So, an example of that would be padding your sentences with certain phrases. There is, or there are,
Mhm.
or of blank the. Any, like the field of branding. No, you could just say branding. You know, the blank of or of blank the, they have no meaning. So it's really getting to the point. Um, and also these phrases, they make your sentences longer than they need to be. So if you can eliminate 3 or 4 words, then you don't have to worry so much about sentence length. And so you could say, instead of like, there's an error in your copy, which might actually be misconstrued as passive voice, you could say, your copy has an error. Very direct, to the point.
That brings up something, and maybe
Yeah.
this falls under the concise thing, because I'm not very good at this stuff, and I'm a terrible speller. I use Grammarly, and Grammarly is always hammering me about using passive voice. Um, and it says not to use passive voice, and I'm assuming that you agree with that.
Well, no, I don't always agree with that. There's a time and a place for passive voice. You just have to decide where and when. Especially because I believe in speaking the way you would speak to someone that you know. Real talk, real language. And if you speak using passive words, it's hard to change your voice. So I don't necessarily agree that passive voice is a bad thing. I just think you have to choose wisely when to use it.
Yeah. So how would you know as a good time to use it and when it's not?
Okay, so when you want to, I don't want to necessarily say threaten someone, but when you want to say, um, and I wish I could pull up, let me see if I can just find this real quick, because Barack Obama had a great example um, during his presidency of hiding a threat in a speech, without getting political here, because that's not my idea of fun, but it's a great example. Let me just bring it up right here. But the idea of passive voice being wrong is kind of, it's old. I mean, it can be effective.
I had always thought that it was kind of an academic thing, and I was thinking about this the other day, and so I was glad to hear what you said there. We are told, at least in copywriting and business copywriting, to write like you speak. Well, I notice, especially here in the South, we tend to speak in passive voice, and so if you're talking very academic like, trying to correct all the passive voice, you're cutting that out. So that's kind of where that's why I was wondering what you had to say about that.
Well, and here's the example. So it's one of those things. Um, it's almost like I said, concealing a threat. Um, so he was referring to resolving Iran's nuclear issues, and he said, time is not unlimited. And he was using a rhetorical nicety, a logical nicety. And Grammarly will mark that as passive voice, not unlimited. Time was not unlimited. And the thing is, it's not really passive. It is passive voice, but it has a more nuanced meaning. And it's also a double negative. So again, it's not that it's not. I just don't agree that passive voice is always wrong, because when you want to have an implied, you want to imply something. A good example is like, you don't want to start an argument with someone. So you phrase it in a passive voice so that you avoid the drama.
Disarms it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're not playing the blame game, because sometimes you play the blame game with that. So again, passive voice has a time and a place, and I really believe in its use.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I don't know that it really has anything to do with being concise, but it kind of came up.
All right.
Okay, let's talk about, is that all you want to say about being concise?
Well, actually, I also want to mention that you shouldn't use two words when one is more effective. So like, and this has most to do with adding some sort of adjective with it. You could say, she spoke softly during our interview. Okay, so spoke softly. Do you mean whispered? Because that's one word instead of two. It makes your copy concise. And another one, which is kind of my pet peeve, are Valley Girl words. Really, like, whatever. They just serve no purpose. So, you could say, oh, they're so ugly. Well, why don't you tell me how ugly? Do you mean hideous? What do you mean? It just shortens it right up.
Yeah, so that would be an example of when not to use something like you might speak.
Yeah.
If you speak Valley Girl, I don't think that's been around for 30 years, so
probably not. It depends, because my niece is going to be 10, and she gets this little head bop, and she gets some of these words, and it's like, oh, you're almost a Valley Girl, but that shows my age. So
yeah, but is Valley Girl a thing anymore in modern? That was so like 80s,
Yeah.
And it was also kind of a California thing, and the rest of us just kind of mimicked it, every region's got their own thing that they do, right? So, my nieces are all beyond that 10-year-old point. I have two. One of them's fixing to get married, but
oh wow.
Yeah, the other one is a freshman in college, and so they're beyond that. I don't think they speak like Valley Girl. I don't know they ever spoke like Valley Girl, either one of them. In fact, the younger one probably was very academic in how she spoke, because she was always like very academic like. So, okay, now you said compelling is your favorite of the C's. So
yeah, it is.
Why is that?
It's emotional.
Yeah.
And that emotion is going to hook your readers.
Right.
It captures their attention. It holds it. It causes them to nod their heads in agreement. And then it persuades them to take action. So it depends on what kind of emotion you want to evoke. But again, that's up to whatever your content is about. So a couple of ways to do that is to get really specific, because specific sell. That's the bottom line. Be as specific as you can get. You'll capture your reader's attention. They will click that buy button, or set up that consultation, or download whatever you want them to do. So some of my favorite ways to do that is, the first one is to get rid of words that are vague, like the word stuff, thing, or got. In an everyday conversation, people might understand what you're talking about, but because they're reading what you're writing, it might be misinterpreted. They might not know what stuff you're talking about. So, instead of saying, oh, she put that stuff on her lips. Well, what did she put on her lips? Was it a flavorful lip gloss? Was it beads? Who knows? I mean, what are they talking about? So just getting very specific like that, first of all, is super important. And the word thing also bothers me a lot, because, again, you don't know what things you're talking about.
Right.
So, for example, you could say, oh, those things won't help you be an entrepreneur. Well, when you're having a conversation with someone, I'm sure they'll understand what you mean.
Yeah.
But when you're writing it out, be specific. What things? A bad attitude and failure mindset. There you go. That gets really specific. And another one that another set of words that you can look for to make your copy more compelling, get rid of them to make it more compelling, is generic and emotionalist words. So, like, the more descriptive the word, the better. People, they'll say, oh, we're market leading, or best in class is a great one for car companies, But you really got to get descriptive with it, because, sure, you're market leading, but how are you leading the market? What are you actually doing? So, if you're a restaurant, you could say, oh, we changed the way you eat. So it just, again, gets more specific.
Yeah, I think, and when you talk about using adjectives like that, we're like there's a place in town that says, or at least they used to have a banner up that said, "We best burger in town." My first question is always, according to whom? I mean, and that's a place where being specific comes in. Like, well, is it according to the local newspaper? Is it according to some other poll that was out, or are you just making a claim? And I think it hurts your credibility if you put out a claim like that without specifically mentioning where that claim comes from. That's maybe kind of an aside.
No, absolutely. That is one of the things that kind of, it's so easily fixable. I mean,
Right.
and as soon as you fix it, you make it more descriptive, you make it more specific, the more you're going to connect with your readers.
Right.
So, like, another great example is, you say, oh, well, they like cookies. Well, what kind of cookies? Organic chocolate chip cookies? Because then you're going to pique your reader's interest.
Peanut butter for me.
I like a peanut butter cookie, but I like pizzelle. They're an Italian Christmas kind of cookie. Look like a flat waffle cone.
Okay.
You can find them in the grocery store. Please do not buy them from the grocery store.
I think I've seen those.
Just don't. They're so bad.
One area, and going to the compelling and the specific, and I'd like for you to address this, but one area I see where people are not specific, and I think it does hurt the compelling cases, in the call to actions. So, and I first picked up on this just from reading stuff, Joel Klecke and Joanna Weeb and some of them, but obviously submit or download is pretty generic, and I think people, that's where you could be more compelling by being more specific.
Absolutely. And it's really a missed opportunity when you don't. Just having a generic buy button I mean, why would you say buy now when you could say grab my guide?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like it's extra words. It's just more specific, less generic, and it's taking, everything that you send, every word that you write has the opportunity to convert a prospect.
Mhm.
And you've got to figure out how to make those words work for you
Mhm.
and not against you.
Yeah. Now, what do you think? Like a lot of e-commerce stores will have like add to cart or buy. I mean, is that and I can understand a little bit because I mean they have thousands of products in there that you can buy from. So, I mean, I guess maybe that's a case where something a little more generic might make sense.
It does, but if you're a small startup, even a beauty company, or you are making your own candles, anything where you're not a chain
Hmm.
store, I would really say that you could adjust those buttons,
Hmm.
add to cart, especially because, again, it's just something that's going to make your readers, they'll read it and it'll be almost like a pattern interrupt. Like, I'm used to saying add to cart, seeing add to cart. What am I reading here? Wait, what is this? Let me see this again. So it's going to it's going to grab their attention.
You brought up pattern interrupt just now, and I've seen other people talk about that recently. Is that a good example of being compelling, using a pattern interrupt?
It is if it's short enough, if it's concise.
Right.
If you can get them to the interruption,
Hmm.
then it does its job. Then it's compelling. But if you write like 300 words and then all of a sudden you finally get to the interrupt, you're going to lose people after 15 words.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, you got to make it work for you.
Yeah, I would imagine it has to be fairly early in the process to
Hmm.
and not yeah, I don't. That's a new concept to me, but I certainly understand and maybe it's something I can use more in the future. Um, I think for small business owners, business consultants, or whatever, we don't really realize how much we write. I always tell people to get Ann Handley's book. Everybody writes because so many great ideas in that book, and uh, but we write. We may write our website copy. We may write emails for our lists, a landing page. Social media posts can really benefit from
Absolutely.
good copywriting. That is one thing that I've learned in the last probably 5 years is how much you can use copywriting in social media. And I particularly like to tell people to consider using the PAS formula. It's one of the few formulas that are short enough to really get into a social media post. But okay, let's switch to just as we wrap this up. Let's take the clear, concise, compelling, because social media is where a small business or a business consultant is likely to do most of their copywriting. Can you talk about these three things and like creating a Facebook post?
Sure, absolutely. So when people are on social media, it really doesn't matter where they are, but social media is where they tend to hang out
Mm-hmm.
before they find your website, and then sign up for your list. Really, your emails are the last place they're going to find you because you're on social media. They'll go to your website, they'll sign up for your newsletter, then boom, you get to the emails, the good stuff. Well, your social media ideally should be telling some sort of story. I mean, people don't really want to hear, oh, my products do this, this, and this. They want to hear a story about how you made the product, how you thought of the product, what your customers think of the product, how it helped one of your customers. So the compelling part would be telling a story. The concise part would be telling it in as few words as possible and then keeping it clear.
Mm-hmm.
Don't use jargon. Don't use mumbo jumbo. and technicalities that people aren't going to understand. You know, tell them really anything as long as it's a story. People love stories.
Let me ask you about something in regards to social media and copy editing. I see this a lot. People will use a meme or a trending thing like the broom handle social media posts. What do you think about using a meme, like taking a meme and using it for your business, or using something that's trending like the broom standing up?
So, my favorite way is to make memes of myself. You can go online
Mhm.
and you can find all of them, like where they say, there's the, I don't know, the little Full House, the little girl there,
Mhm.
the twins there. I can't think of their names. Oh
Yeah,
God, I'm so old.
the Olsen twins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. And she's doing this. You're the best.
Hmm.
So you can just do that yourself.
Hmm.
Don't use a meme when you could make a GIF of yourself doing the same thing.
Okay.
It's gonna
Yeah,
be.
I do know somebody who's actually done that, so I think it's pretty clever.
That's exactly on my website. I have one of me doing my own GIF. It's just so much more fun. It's so because people like them. They like to look at them, but now they're seeing you instead of a celebrity.
So repurposing a GIF
Mhm.
as well, and also I guess you could do that for a meme as well. I mean, there are meme generators that are already out there, so
Yeah.
yeah. I just see some people, and I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to capitalize on something that's popular at the moment, that's hot, and I get it. It's not wrong. Sometimes you just see when you see enough people in your stream do that, you've seen the popular thing happen by 10 businesses in the same day, and you're kind of like,
Hmm.
I'm over it. So,
Well, and a good way to do this too is with the broom challenge that went on.
mhm,
Like some of these are like you said, you see 10 of them in your feed, and you're kind of done with it.
yeah,
You don't want to see any more. But
right,
a good one is like, let's take for example this whole we can break down the broom phenomenon that you can do any day of the week. It's got nothing to do with gravity.
right,
And you could say something like, you've got, I don't know, mops, and say, something clever about mops, and that our mops don't stand up because they're too busy working. Something like that. It's just kind of putting your own twist on it.
that's pretty good. Our mops can't stand up because they're too busy working. I'm
Yeah,
actually gonna throw that to a friend of mine who runs a business that cleans houses. So I think she could pull that off actually. So I'm gonna pitch that to her, see how it goes. So that's
there
pretty good.
you go.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just, you gotta there's a fine line between creativity and what you do. And if you can find that, that's where you're going to shine. That's all about making it compelling and putting your own spin on it.
yeah. It is a fine line for sure, and I mean I guess just like anything else, it kind of comes down to testing a little bit. So for
Absolutely.
sure. Can you tell people where they can find you online? Obviously, we'll
Absolutely.
put it in the show notes too, but go ahead and tell us where they can find you online.
Absolutely. My website is thegrumpygrammarian.com. And that's GRAMMARIAN. I'm also on LinkedIn Autumn Tompkins. My name I spelled just like the season. I'm also on Instagram at Grumpy Grammarian and on Facebook, Grumpy Grammarian.
Yep. Yeah, that is her moniker, and if we had more time, it would be she tells about it on her about page. I do encourage you to go to her about page, and she tells a story about why she calls herself the Grumpy Grammarian. It's a great story. Unfortunately, I think we've kind of spent our time today, but man, it was great to hear from you and to just let you open your brain up and give us a lot of great information.
Well, I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Great. Congratulations on the book. I know that's been out. Was it not quite a year, I guess, is it?
A little over a year.
Okay. Well, and I certainly appreciate you. You have been very nice to answer some questions for me along the way. And so hopefully this will be helpful to you, and hopefully it's helpful to my audience. And I appreciate you coming on to Copy Chat Show. And I feel like this is my first celebrity guest. So.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Until the next episode, I'll talk to you guys next time.